Hi, everyone, and welcome back to What's the Tea with South Suburban Family Shelter. My name is Angela Davis. I'm a community educator here at the agency, and I just want to continue just to thank you all for continuously just supporting What's the Tea, our agency, and tuning in every week at the same time. So, of course, we have some special guests on today. Today, we have Dr. Denise Adams, and we also have Mr. Mark Dupree. So I would definitely, give you all a chance to, give a little bit about yourself, and then we go get started.
Yes, ma'am.
Who
Ladies
want
first.
to?
Thank you, Mark.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
name is Denise Adams, and I am the founder and executive director of New Vision Princess of Illinois, which is a 501c3 non-for-profit organization working with young girls 9 to 18, where I mentor them on various life skill topics. And I'm also an educator. I work
Yes,
at a university and I work for a high school. So I wear a few hats, but I'm all about education.
yes, I love it. Okay, Mark.
I'm Mr. Mark Dupree. I am currently a BAM counselor working with young men. Somehow I still end up kind of working with young women. They the sisters and all of that try to get in. So I'm pretty much I wear a lot of hats to be honest, against violence. I was once a PAPE counselor as well, um, and I'm just out here trying to change lives. That's it.
Yes,
That's all. Give
yes, and
back.
that's why I wanted y'all on here because y'all both wear a few hats, and I know you all are able to give just a lot of wisdom. So today I really wanted to be talking about healing the inner self, because I see that as being very, very important, not only personally but professionally, especially in this field. As a protective factor for ourselves, healing ourselves to be able to change the world for other people, which is very important. And I've also realized that during this pandemic, it seems as if a lot of people embraced therapy more. Whether it was because you were going through your own trauma, whether it's because you live at home and ain't nobody else to talk to, you need to talk to somebody. But I definitely see that these services are being utilized even more. So I really wanted to cover that because you two are professionals, and you deal with some heavy stuff as well. You deal with individuals that, have seen things, have dealt with trauma. So I just first wanted to ask you all, and you all can give your own, of course, your answer to that. But I first wanted to ask, what does it mean to you to heal the inner self? What does that mean? What does that look like?
Ladies
Looking
first.
over there like ladies first.
Oh, but you let me go first last time, so I'm going to extend that courtesy to you and allow you to go.
For myself, healing my inner self. It means to basically first of all accept some of the things that I try to forget, that I have tried to forget. And speak for myself. I've been through a lot uh at an early age, and like at that time, like when you young, you don't know those words, you don't know those terms, trauma. You don't know how to even describe it or what it is. You just know that you're being told to be strong and keep pushing. Um, and so for me, is digging down deep and bringing some of that stuff up out the closet. You have to, especially in the field that we all work in helping others. How can we help others if we sitting around with so much baggage of our own and not dealing with it? So that's what it means to me.
Wow, I really like that.
I know, right? I was like,
Yes. Okay. Well, I like what Mark just shared, and definitely for me, as he was stating too, when you're younger, different things happen to you. You can't put a name on it. I think we talked before about ACEs. So some of the traumas that I experienced as a child, you talking about the inner healing, I first had to come to grips to recognize what was that, put the label on it, call it what it was, and then begin to, ask myself the question, like, do you want to be healed? Do you want to be helped? So I had to make the choice first, the decision, because if I would have sought out, other means, therapy or clergy help, if I wasn't ready to acknowledge what it was, it would have been a waste of time. So as I grew older and began to understand a lot of stuff and put the pieces together, I was like, wow, just like you said, that inner healing, I had to start looking within me deep down inside to like assess some things, and then came to the realization, this is what it is, this is what happened, face it so I can find the means to help me erase it and deal with it properly.
And you all both said something really important, and that is you can't forget that. You cannot forget that trauma or what you've been through. And just from my own reflection, I remember growing up and, speaking with my biological mom, and it's like, no, this happened. And she's like, no, it didn't. No, it didn't. And, my boss had to explain to me, like, that's how she dealt with her trauma, by telling herself that it never happened. And so, of course, when you're going through that trauma, it's like, no, I remember that, so that's really important that you said you cannot just sweep it under the rug. You have to face that straight on. That's really important. So do you all find therapy to be necessary or important?
Very much so. Today, I feel that way. Today, as a much older adult, but when I was younger, I was totally against it. I mean, how could I say it? I was labeled. I had so many labels coming up when I was younger, and like I remember thinking right now, like in school, I was labeled the bad kid. And I did a lot of things. Now, don't get me wrong.
That's
But
accountability.
once you hear the label, you start to actually act out with that label. You start like, what, they call me bad, I'm gonna show them bad. Well, that's what I did. And so I was very against it. Everyone kept reaching out to my mother, because they love my mother, they love me. But I just didn't believe in it because the neighborhood I grew up in, that, and let me be specific, African Americans wasn't known to go sit down and tell nobody about their issue and their problem. We was told in the household, you keep this business in this house, and that was that. So, but now I know strongly I probably wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't get the therapy that I did.
That's really good, because when I went through my traumas, it was never discussed. Therapy was definitely not on the table, was not an option. And as I got older, like working in different environments and meeting different people and finally coming to grips with, what had transpired and looking at some of the decisions I was making. And like Mark said, let me just go back. He was saying like they were labeling him as a bad child. And for me, I think I went more inwardly because I began to excel academically because that was my way to escape what I was dealing with. But then I think therapy would have been great then if I would have been introduced to it. But I totally agree with Mark. Yes, therapy is needed, and not, and like you said, in the African American communities, some people still frown upon it, but they don't understand what a therapist is. They're not going to, it's somebody that you generally don't know. They're not judging you. They're just going to help guide you, us, whoever dealing with their traumas, they're going to help guide us to that place where we can really get that healing to be free. Because we're out here trying to help free other people, and yet we're still bound, some of us. But yes, I agree that therapy is very much needed.
Yes. Y'all said a lot of important things, especially Mark. This is something that I say in the school system all the time. Like, once you put that label on a child, if I'm 5 years old and all my life I've been getting told that I'm bad, I'm mean, I'm gonna be a gangbanger. Well, that's what I'm gonna live up to because all my life, that's what y'all told me I'm gonna be. Yeah, I didn't hear anything else, no positive reinforcement. There was nothing else that I can hold on to that I could be,
Not
and
at all.
that's really important because it's so important for professionals to be trauma informed because
Mhm.
also too, instead of just saying, all right, Mark, you're bad, get out of my classroom, I want to deal with it. Well, let's look at it. Why, what's going on? What's going on? And I know I'm not a teacher, and that could be hard because they're probably looking at me, well, Miss Davis, I got 20 other kids that I need to teach. I don't have time to just focus on you. So it's pros and cons to both. But y'all really took me into my next question of asking, do you feel that in our society or specifically in our culture, therapy is seen as a negative aspect? And you all have spoke about that. So my question to you is that, do you feel that the individuals that raised us look at it negatively because they weren't exposed to those resources either? Like, do you feel it's just a continuous generational thing?
Mm.
I'll let Dr. Adams go first.
Thanks, Mark. For me and my family, as far as therapy, that wasn't like just Mark said it. What happens in our household stays in our household and is not to be out here to be discussed in schools, churches, or anywhere else. So what I learned to do was I was like, not giving people excuses, but I always was, come to the resolve that they gave me everything they thought they could give me based on their mindset, where their mind was. So I had to even release them. Maybe they didn't get it. They didn't understand. Nobody talked to them about that. We're getting more information now in this age where we have, internet right on our fingertips everywhere. So we can research and find out a lot more stuff, a lot of more things. So I had to release them. I don't think they really understood the impact that therapy would have. And again, it could have been because of their environment, what they were taught, how they were thinking, the mindset. But I think it's still kind of looked at a stigma in our society with some cultures. I mean, yeah, with some
Yeah. Yeah, with our culture, I have to agree with Dr. Adams. It is in majority of our communities looked at as negative. But I also have like my own set of theories when it comes down to why. And this is not saying in all families, but majority of it, um, with my experience, many of when you look at the parents that may didn't believe, I'm not even gonna go far to say they didn't believe in it, but I want to say that they was in utilizing the actions of hiding certain things. And what I mean by that, in a lot of cases you had like a lot of people that I know like was abused. You had little girls, little boys being abused by family members, uncles, and things of that nature, granddaddies. And you know that's kind of a hard situation to put a parent in, I believe, because this is a family member, this is their child. What do? You don't want that person going off to jail, because we know what people do to people in jail for those type of actions. So you trying to play almost play God. You're trying to get in there and say, oh, as a family, we're gonna take care of this. And that's just impossible. You need professional help on all levels.
because guess what happens, Mark, when we do that? We perpetuate the cycle of that abuse. And it continues to go on and on and on for generations to come. And it's like somebody got to stand up and say, it stops here. It stops with me.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't care what people think and what they're saying. If we're going to be healed, we got to say something. What they say, if you
Yeah.
see something, say something. And we've been quiet and we think we've been doing a good service to those individuals, the perpetrators, but actually, in actuality, we're not, because
No.
we're telling them your behavior is okay. Keep doing this. We applaud you. So they continue to do it. And then the next generation come in and they're watching stuff and hearing stuff. And guess what? It's going to lead them just where you said. They're going to eventually end up, in a couple places. But definitely if they get in a penal system, there's people there waiting for them based on the type of crimes they've committed.
And I'm glad you said that, because real quick, a lot of people don't respond to things, and they think, okay, I mind my business. I get it. Some people are afraid. Now let's be real about it. I done been on buses where young folks are basically harassing the elders these days, cussing them out, calling them all type of names. And I turn around, look around, not even a bus driver defends them. And I'm thinking, like, how? You know what I'm saying? Like, if we don't defend our elders, who else gonna defend them? So I put myself out there, and I feel like they don't understand that not saying something is playing a huge role. You might as well jump in on the bandwagon and do what them people doing. So that's my whole take on that as well.
Yeah, no, you both are making a lot of sense. I love it. That's why I'm just sitting here like, come on now. But no, it's really true, because if we can use domestic violence as a situation, right? If mom and dad or dad and mom are fighting in the household, maybe mom don't want to call the police, right? Because they want to keep it in the family. They don't want to let people know their business. And I feel also too, unfortunately, I think sometimes the issue is that if families feel like we don't talk about it, it never happened. It never happened. And so things just get swept under the rug. And that's why I just appreciate hearing your wisdom as well of healing yourself. Because of course, here we are coming up, and it's just like, well, why my dad didn't teach me that? Well, why didn't y'all talk to me about that? Well, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you give me these resources? And now I had to find out the hard way. And I think that's the whole journey of healing yourself, is understanding that maybe they didn't have all the resources or the knowledge or the help that we are now being able to receive. Because what's happening is that now people want to break these barriers, and they want to break these generational cycles. And now, unfortunately, these difficult conversations are being held with the guardians. That's really hard to have, because in their defense, well, I didn't have that either, Mark. I didn't have that either, Dr. Adams. I gave you what I was able to give. And with us being in our healing journey, it's just like, that's not enough. But we have to go through our home healing. And I think personally, with me doing therapy, I have to realize that too. Unfortunately, I'm at the age where it's just like, they didn't teach me that. Okay, well, go figure it out. Because unfortunately, I'm gonna still be stuck in that cycle of still being mad, still being angry, and not understanding why Dr. Adams got taught that, how Mark got taught that, but my parents ain't teach me nothing. And I think that is also a difficult feeling as well.
Very important. I like what you said. You made the decision, just like I said in the beginning. We have to make the decision. Do I want to remain here in this situation with this mindset, or do I really want to get healing? Because when I want to seek out healing, I got to push past all that, what they didn't tell me, and I got to figure it out, because there's other people connected to me. That's why it was so important for me to get my healing, because now I'm out here talking to other people, young girls, young guys, women, sharing my story. And that's helping me too. That's a part of the healing process. And I keep looking for causes that mean so much to me, because I want to be that girl that I didn't have back then to protect me. So I want to share what I have, the knowledge I have, keep researching and sharing it with other young ladies, men, whoever that wants to listen, that you can be free. You don't have to stay stuck there. You don't even have to, be angry anymore. Of course, we all get there in our own time, but begin to search out resources, the internet, YouTube, there's, videos. I got my healing. I was leading worship, like one Sunday morning, and just began to just allow the Holy Spirit to flow through me in song. Who would have known on a Sunday morning in front of all these people? But when I got my healing, there were a lot of people coming up to me afterwards. Even the pastor was like, you just set a lot of people free. So it's really important for us to get that inner healing, because we are agents of change, and there's other people waiting for us to get in our position so that we can help them get free, because they don't know how. Some of them still stuck there, so this is very.
And I was just about to say that we know we want to be free. We hear, but it's just like, how do I get to freedom? What,
the process of healing is a very scary one. This is a time, and this is a time when, and if we're being specific about therapy, this is, I can remember my first session. I think I was probably there within 20 minutes. I walked out. This is a complete stranger that I'm finna have to tell everything to. The good, the bad, the in between. And somewhere, I don't, at that time, I was thinking, like, I don't care how professional he or she is, they're gonna judge me. They're gonna judge, they're gonna feel sorry for me. I don't want that. I don't want sympathy. I don't want all those things. I want healing. I want you to guide me to the place where I can regain strength and know that I'm worthy. That's what I want. And so it took me when I first initially started having therapy, and that was over 20 years ago in my life. I might have went through many professionals before I found that one person that I was like, hey, this the one I trust. I'm gonna trust the process. And that's that. So I understand the fear, or whatever you want to call it, that makes a person stay stuck rather stay stuck in what they've been stuck in. I understand it. It's comfortable.
Yeah, and also too, it's like during this healing, I don't know what might arise. I don't know what old feelings, what old visions, what old stories might come up that I wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah. And that's true, because I was speaking to someone for probably over an hour or so, and they were exhibiting some of the same statements that Mark was just making. And they was like, these people are going to judge me when I open up and start sharing like all the dirt I did. But I seen this person in like so much turmoil. And I was like, I really want to help you because I care for you. But sometimes you have to let strangers do that process for people, because you can be so close to them and then they can look at you and think like, well, my business or this or that. So it's always good. I'm glad you was able to find that person, Mark, that you finally open up to, because therapy you got to be honest. If you want that healing, you got to open up. And it takes time, because I remember I was sending someone to therapy, excuse me, and I'm, explaining to them how this works. And then they was like, forget it. They asked too many questions. So it's like, when you're ready, I'm not going to push you, but it's right. Like, when you're ready, you go through what you have to go through, and you will find that individual that you feel like, okay, this is the one. I'm here. I feel safe. I can open up. They're not going to judge me, throw my traumas or whatever in my face. They're here to really help you get to that healing process. Yeah. So there are people out here that still, feel like, I want to do it, but I can't. And some of them feel comfortable with certain people and they just want to open up. But it's like, I'm not a licensed therapist. Yes, I'm a doctor. I have a PhD or psychology, but I've dealt in the capacity with, people from my non-for-profit, from church, community, different events. And you got to find that person that can help you, because it's really going to help you. And then once you begin to like see things happening, you'll be able to share it with somebody else to encourage them to go, So when you get there, you get there. And I'm glad you found that there.
And I was going to say too, that's really important that you talked about as well, is that just because, okay, today I'm going to therapy, that person might not be for you. Right. That person just might not be. I remember the first time I went to therapy, I'm sitting there boo-hoo crying in the first 20 minutes, trying to tell them what's going on. And she was calling me a whole nother name.
Wow.
How with that, when you finally want to heal, are you listening to me?
Right.
Or, you know, are you listening to me? So then I have to reevaluate, like, see, I told y'all I shouldn't do this. You know, so that's a process within itself. And unfortunately, that's hard too for a person that wants to heal and get that help, and you can't find your person, or you're getting bad experiences with it.
Mhm.
But it's safe to say that's not the case for everyone. But that's
Right.
still a journey within itself. Okay, so Dr. Adams, you work closely with teens and adolescents. And I'm sure that you may even work with students who have experienced a lot of trauma. So have you ever spoken to your students about utilizing therapy, which I know you said you have, but how, with you working in this sector, how would you say teens and adolescents view therapy when you talk to them about it?
Sort of like what Mark just said, because they've been going to therapists and they'll be like, no, I told my grandmother I want you to be my therapist. And that's because I've built like relationships with them and they feel comfortable with me and they
Yes.
know I'm gonna do it in love and I'm gonna listen to you. And then when it's time for me to respond, I'm gonna respond in love and, you know, giving you, okay, A, B, and C, and D, and then I'll talk with you next week, follow up or whatever. But they feel, some of them like, okay, I'll do it now, after the fact they want to do it. But when I try to like encourage them to go, oh no, I'm not talking to nobody but you. And I was like, but I don't have that, you know, I don't serve in that capacity. I can only give you as much guidance and nurturing, you know, from a mom's perspective, from someone that's of age with wisdom, you know, trust God to give me what to say to you. But some of them are for it and some of them aren't. And what I found is that it's majority of African American students or young people, you know, that I encounter that really don't want to talk to anybody outside of whoever they're comfortable with, who looks like them. So I don't know
Right.
what that percentage is, but yeah.
And you know, they already have the mindset like, I don't trust nobody, I don't want to talk to nobody, and I'm trying to talk to you, and you trying to send me away,
Yeah.
right? So they
Because
get
I know what my limitations are. And, you know, just being
yes,
honest, we
yes.
got to pass you along to the right people because we want you to get your healing. We want you to be helped so you can be whole and complete and live
I
your best life.
yes.
Yep.
So, Mr. Mark, what about you? I know that you work with BAM and you work with different young women and mostly men. How do they view this? Because, you know, I'm not being stereotypical, but I also know that as men, society wants to keep you in this man box of certain ways to act, certain ways to be. So when you bring therapy to men, it's just like, mm, what you mean therapy? I don't need no therapy, you know.
Uh,
So how is it perceived?
well, I don't work in every population I done worked in, the homeless, working with the homeless, um, I mean, not just the man. Some of the women is not trustworthy of it. You know, one case in particular, when I was working at a homeless place. It was a young lady I met, and she had been so traumatized. I'm talking about when I, all the things that she did share, and I'm sure that wasn't all, but it was enough. I understood, like, you know, why would she trust anyone? You know, like, why would she? But for the most part, when it come down to majority of the males that I knew and I grew up with, you know, we in the projects. We doing, you know, when you in the project, you in certain elements, you doing certain things. So certain things you don't speak about. You just don't speak about out of fear of being incarcerated, getting in trouble, being labeled a snitch. You know, that's one of the biggest things that I struggle with to this day. Of um, even in the professional field. I tell my students all the time, y'all stop that snitching. All, you know, and I catch myself and I say, is that what I really want to teach them? You know, no, I don't. I want them to speak up when they see something. I won't, but that's that element that had been taught to me so long that sometimes it rears his head and I don't even know it until it's too late. So but I haven't I can't really sit and say that I know a lot of people that's okay with therapy. I don't.
Yeah. And it's
That's what I
interesting.
wanted to add. So keep going.
I was talking to a male friend about therapy, and of course, again, I'm just sensitive like that. And I like to do it in love. I'm a mom, I'm a grandma. So, and I just said to him, I was like, wow, sounds like you need therapy. And I think he got offended. But I promise you, I said it out of love because, he's a friend. So I wouldn't have said anything to him that I thought was going to be detrimental. But because of his experiences, his traumas, wherever he's at in his healing process, I didn't mean it in any type of way because I will walk with him through that healing, whatever that looks like for him. But there are some people that they're just like, I'm not with that. And it's some of the various reasons that Mark just shared.
Absolutely.
Because and the reason is when you hear when a person tells you, I remember being told that you need therapy. The first thing come to my mind is what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with me?
Is not what have I been through, what have I experienced? It's like, dang, what's wrong with me? Like you get to looking at yourself in the mirror, you get to questioning everything about yourself. I know I did. I was trying to figure it out.
I did too. Yeah.
I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, why do I keep getting in trouble? I keep causing all this chaos, and I know I don't want to bring this to my mother. I couldn't figure it out for nothing. My mother, I knew I was being raised and to me, me and my brother was being raised in the Huxtable house. That's how we felt. We didn't know at a younger age that mom was paying bills and all. We thought everything was free. We lived the best life. We didn't have all the name brand our friends had, but we was clean, and that was okay for us. You know what I'm saying? So, I think as time goes by, you get a little bit older, you get a little bit more experience and knowledge. That's when certain things start to make sense to you. Yeah. That's when the little light bulb go, okay.
Yes. And I guess the lesson I learned from that too, just like when I said it, I didn't think of any of that. Like,
right.
Oh, what's wrong with me? What have I been through? And I was just basing it upon like a conversation we was having. And just because he was so passionate, different from what I'm used to. And I was it sounded like I was hearing something. So I was just like, oh, sounds like you need therapy. And I, not knowing, like you said, what's wrong with me? He could have been, viewing it from that perspective. But I truly learned a lesson that I guess I'll ask the questions to lead to that versus just coming out and saying, maybe I'll ask like, so what happened to you? Just to get a little more about the backstory.
Right. Or what do you think you may need to help you? Yeah. Yeah, because they when you put it to them like that, they feel a little bit more, okay, she ain't judging. Yeah, but I can tell you ain't mean no harm.
Right. And also too, like we talked about, look how it's viewed in our culture. Look how it's viewed in society. So that's another thing too. You tell somebody you need therapy, it's like, what therapy? What you mean I need therapy? Because of it's not like, yeah, you need to go to Walmart. Oh, okay, cool. It's not seen as that. It's seen with such negative, back ends to it. So unfortunately, yes, you meant it with love and everything. And it's just our society, I think.
But another element, another piece that we're not looking at that's very imperative is therapy is costly. Or should I say, very good therapy. You get what you pay for. I'm a true believer in that.
Absolutely.
So a lot of our in our culture haven't experienced that and may never experience that.
Right.
Just do because of the resources. And
I wasn't even thinking about that as well. But that is a very, very valid point. Some of these resources isn't as obtainable as it is for somebody else. And let's not even talk about a person that's been through all this or using that example of the young lady. Well, she don't have any insurance. Then what? So that is layers on top of layers, unfortunately. Okay, so at our agency, we do have a program we call PAPE, which is the Partner Abuser Intervention Program. which is essentially for our perpetrators. Now, let's say, for instance, and Mr. Mark, I know that you worked in that department as well. So
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sure we can just assume that maybe you have a participant that starts, the program, and maybe, a few months, maybe a few weeks, a few days, that person may realize, like, oh, dang, I need to work on myself. I got some stuff I need to work on. I need to go to therapy, but that's not what PAPE is for.
Mhm.
So I have a question. As a facilitator, do you all suggest going to do therapy after completing the program, or do you all kind of tread lightly on that topic as well?
No, well, I can't speak for every
Right.
pay, but for myself, I tried to stay on that tightrope of never suggesting anything. Never. I always, the way I did my work was I worked that curriculum, but I also intertwined my, like, a lot of personal with it. However, when it came down to it, I always wanted to guide them to the answer, because a lot of times, the way I seen it, they knew the answer. They had the answer. You don't need me to validate what you know, what you already need to do. And then, because you got to be careful of that, because if I suggest those things, and let's say they have a bad experience, now they come blow up ready to whoop on me, I lose my job because ain't nobody whooping on me. you know. So no, I tried. I mean, and it was many times. It was many times where I wanted to, you know, take a pen, a paper, write down a number. Hey, call this person. It was times, but I was against it because I knew where it could lead.
Do you think sometimes it's like a light bulb that goes off in some people during the program? Is like, okay, maybe a topic come up, and of course maybe that topic can't be fully explored because we're following the curriculum right now, but do you think it might be a light bulb in their head, like, okay, I know I probably need to go back and revisit that part of my life?
Yeah, it was. We did had I done had a few clients at my time now that they, after group was over, and I noticed they stand behind, and I'm wondering what's going on. They come and confront me and tell me that. Then we had some people that throughout the program they just still clueless, like, why
Like,
I'm
there ain't
here,
nothing wrong with
why
me.
why am I here? And I'm just like, oh wow, do we really got to let them go? Like, I don't understand. Like, how didn't not one thing get you? Not one. So,
They just be sitting there like, yeah, so what y'all, how y'all day going?
Remember,
I mean,
get
one
there.
thing I could say, with doing paint, it triggered a lot of my it brought a lot of stuff back to the
Back
forefront that I
up.
tried to forget. That I, I'm human. I throw a lot of stuff in that
Yeah.
closet. I locked that closet, and when I got the paper out of nowhere, I just like, ooh, whoa, wait, ooh,
Yeah. Yeah, and,
yeah.
it-
So,
and it- and and that's important that you are even saying that, because even as professionals or as advocates, I can learn from you. You can learn from me. I may not tell you, oh, Mark, you just had me have to go, check myself, but it's just like teacher and student,
yeah,
you can still learn from something. Even working in this field, you tend to check a lot of your realities, a lot of your opinions, a lot of your stereotypes in general, because you're coming and you're dealing with individuals from all walks of life, all different types of backgrounds. So that's completely understandable. That's
yeah.
completely understandable.
I always used to have. I had a saying I used to tell my clients. I used to always tell them, I don't want you all looking at me as if I'm above you all. I want you all to know that I'm right here. I'm growing with you. I'm learning with you, and I actually was. It was a lot of things that I learned in faith that I didn't know. I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? And I learned along the way with them, and so I was growing with them.
Wow. Well, okay. This is a good conversation. So, is there any last minute words, any last minute thoughts, anything you would like to convey before we close out this episode?
Um, I would just like to say that thank you, for bringing awareness. So the more awareness that we bring to the community that therapy is okay, that we will encourage people that look like us, to seek therapy. It's okay. We're not judging you. We are all broken, trying to get on that way to healing. So we're in this with you. You're not alone.
Absolutely. Yep. I have my
Agree.
therapy session tomorrow.
Mhm. I have mine Friday. Real. My last thing I want to say is just like Dr. Adams said, we encourage you guys um to step out there on faith if you have to, um, because in order to live a healthy life, you have to heal. If you want to live healthy, healthy ain't just always about physical. It's sometimes also about the mental. So we encourage you guys to go out there, step on faith, and like we said, you don't have to go with the very first therapist that you encounter. Select wisely.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Even, we all can say that now we've been through collective trauma, and that's during this pandemic. And as you can see, as new variants coming out, we all, that's one thing that I could say we all collectively experienced was that trauma.
Yes, ma'am.
So absolutely that during the pandemic, that's what made me realize, like, okay, yeah, I need to talk to somebody because this ain't right. This is not right. So I just want to say thank y'all so very much. Thank you for getting on here and sharing your wisdom, personally, professionally. I just really, really appreciate it. For those of you that are watching, even though this is pre-recorded, please leave your questions. Please, if you need different resources. If you have a specific question towards Dr. Adams or Mr. Mark, please write that and we will get that answered for you. And like always, we thank you so much for your time. And again, we will be here next week again, same time, same place, different tea. Thank you all so much. Have a good day.
Enjoy your day.